What can they expect to see in Collin Chandler?
Yeah, well, what I've been able to do in my career so far is I think just get a team together and get them working together. But
Mhm.
I mean, I get it done. So I mean, they can expect a show when they come. So we're excited.
What's going on today? I'm the host, Zach Schumaker, and joining me today, McDonald's All-American nominee, Sports Illustrated All-American, the number 26 ranked player in the class of 2022. He's also a four-star recruit and the highest ranked commit in BYU history, Collin Chandler. I appreciate you coming on today, my man.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, for starters, we got a lot to get into today, but you obviously, I'm sure you've already seen the McDonald's All-American list, and you obviously were a person that should have easily been on that list. You could have had your name there. You're obviously what a lot of people would call a snub. So how have you taken that in? And just overall, how did you react to not having your name being a part of that?
I mean, I got to go up against a lot of those guys this summer, and that was the thing that was most, I guess, aggravating to me was knowing that I did everything I could. I felt like I was the best player on the court every time I played any of those guys, but at the end of the day, it's not up to me, and I felt like I did everything I could, and I don't think my basketball career is ever, I mean, really defined by a list of guys. So you know, it's obviously something that every player wants, but just putting my head down now, and it's my job now to make all the voters that didn't vote for me look dumb. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
And that's the unique thing about you too, because this isn't the first time you've been underrated or something. Because this is like pretty much the first ranking sites and all that come out that have finally put you up in the top group. And you obviously there's still room to grow. You obviously could have been higher even, but how has that helped you in terms of your as a being a player that's not always had all the attention, hasn't always had the spotlight, was always unranked or ranked more towards the back end of it. How has that now helped motivate you and help you become the player that you are today?
Yeah, I mean, there's always something to work for. I mean, there's more to the game of basketball to work for than just rankings and being noticed, which obviously is something that comes with it, and it's a great part of it. But there's always something to look forward to, things to work for. So um, really, just keeping your head down through all the like social media stuff that goes on, just focusing on your end goal and getting better every day. So that's something I try to focus on. Not try to look at everything else. Just focus on my game, what I can do to get better. So that's basically my mentality.
Today, everyone's excited for you out there in Utah. You're going to be at BYU. You're eventually become the next star. You're the highest ranked command program history. But obviously, this has been a journey to get to this point. You've had a lot of ups and downs. You've had different things that's helped get you to this point. So that's why I want BYU fans and pretty much the country to get to know your journey to this point a little bit better. So if we head all the way back, you are from Utah. What was it like growing up out there?
I mean, I think it's a perfect place for me to grow up. I mean, I've had, I mean, I'm growing up with all my buddies, and it's fun to be from Utah and to grow up with these guys, playing with these guys, and then playing with a few of them on like the circuit and stuff like that. So it's just fun growing up with a group of guys and all developing together, and Utah, coming from an underrated state in Utah, it's fun to go out and play against the out of state teams who think Utah doesn't have any hoopers. So that's been the best part.
Like you said, it's not easy for a player from Utah to get respect, and you've obviously been firsthand experience of that. But how has that been? How have you been able to go from a state like you said that doesn't have a spotlight? Pretty much anyone that makes rankings or people that even college coaches and people that look at and recruit players from there, a lot of them say, "Well, it's probably not that good. They might be inflated stats or whatever the excuse might be." How have you been able to work over your career now to get to the point where everyone says, okay, it's no longer just that. It truly is. You are an elite player. You've made it to becoming one of the best players coming out of Utah. How have you done that?
I think there's just the biggest thing is taking advantage of all your opportunities that you get. I've been given. I think kids from Utah probably don't get as many opportunities as other states, but feel like I've been able to capitalize on opportunities with playing with the prospects. Feel like I capitalized on all the big games that we got to play in, all the good competition, and then going and playing in a bunch of camps where it's like either the circuit with the prospect, which is like the one team from Utah, or you got to go travel and play at camps. That's how you got to go and get your name out there. So I think with just the limited opportunities of that kids usually get, I think I just took advantage and knew how important every time I stepped on the court was to show people that you can't just play good once or twice, but every time you're on the court, you have to take advantage of it.
Has basketball always been the go-to sport for you? Was it a couple of the sports you were playing around with and then you finally fell in love with the game? Or how did the ball just first get put in your hands?
Yeah, so I started off playing soccer and basketball. Those are my two sports I spent the most time with. And growing up, I loved both of them. But my parents are tall. My dad's 6'4", mom's 5'10". So I knew that I was going to be taller and have more physical attributes that'd be more useful in basketball. So it got to the point in like eighth grade where it really got to be too much to play both sports. So I wanted to do what I loved, which was basketball. So I put all my eggs in that basket, and that's what I love to do. So I don't regret that at all.
Obviously, it's been the right decision for you based on how you've gone so far. And there is a unique aspect about your game. And you obviously are an elite scorer. You got a lot of stuff you bring to the court. But one thing that probably shocks a lot of people that haven't seen you the very first time they see you is that you are explosive. You're athletic. You're able to pull off the dunks. You're able to fly in the air. You really are more athletic than a lot of people probably would think of you as, right, when they see you at first. So has that always been the case for you? Have you always been a super athletic type of player?
Yeah. I mean, it comes with with the growth spurt and letting your body grow into itself. But yeah, I feel like I've always been able to jump high, but that's definitely what catches people's eye. So I mean, those plays obviously makes the game fun, making those plays and showing off the athleticism. But yeah, that definitely is what catches people's eyes, and then it's standing out and getting attention is a big thing.
When was your very first dunk you were able to throw down?
It was later. I mean, it was the year after, or the summer right before my sophomore year. So I was probably 14 or 15. So yeah.
So you've been able to pretty much go from that to where you're at today, just in about 2 years span. You've been able to jump that much more.
Yeah. It came quickly. I grew fast in that amount of time. I wasn't that tall, so I had that growth spurt. Then all your ligaments and stuff, knee injuries stuff while you're growing, it all like kind of stops. So then that was when I was really able to work on it and get to that point.
Let's go into your high school career. That's where you've been able to stay and establish a name there, make a great history for yourself there at Farmington. What led you to go to that school? Why was that the high school that you wanted to play out your high school career at?
Yeah, well, it's actually my actual boundaries for school. So I've lived here for probably 10 years. So I've lived here pretty much my whole time in Utah. So it's just it's a new school too. So I was right in between the boundaries of two schools, and then this new school got built, and my freshman year is its first year. So I was a part of the first team there. And there's been opportunities to go to other schools, and other people move, transferred, but it's not really my personality. I'm big on loyalty and sticking to the people who stuck with me. So that's what's led me to stay for 4 years at the school and try to win a championship for them.
I was going to ask you about that because obviously with the type of player that you are today, I can already imagine that countless prep schools and all those big national schedule schools, obviously probably I can imagine reached out to you or wanted you to come to the team. Did you ever consider that? Was that ever something that you said, I might be open to that? That'd be interesting. Let's see if that would work out for me. Or are you just pretty much locked in on saying, I want to stay here for all 4 years?
Yeah, no, I mean, you got the prep schools and stuff, and obviously there's great opportunities and respect to all of them. They're doing amazing things, but I also have people tell me that that's the only way that you're gonna improve in basketball or get your name out there. And yeah, it's what's going to prepare you the best. And I think that there's a lot of different paths for everybody. And I just want to do what I love and stick with my public school and the people that I grew up with. So it was obviously was debated, and just at the end of the day, it's what's most important to me is sticking to the hometown team. So that's what I did.
If someone came and told you back when you were heading into high school and said, you're eventually going to become a top ranked player in the country, a borderline 5-star, in my opinion, you are a 5-star, but one of the top players in the country, a guy that could go to schools pretty much anywhere in the country, what would your reaction have been?
I mean, it is kind of crazy thinking back, because that, like, the more you grow up, you're like, oh well, I feel like everything is meant to happen. But I mean, looking back then, I knew I was a good player, and I worked hard at it, and I just didn't know the kind of exposure that I could have gotten. Because just like when I started traveling and stuff, just all these people you get to meet, and people get to watch you, and the power they have on social media and stuff, and the rankings or whatever, and playing in front of college coaches, like, it's really just a crazy kind of opportunity. So looking back, I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do. Just it's never you never know, like, when it's going to happen or what's going to happen. So I mean, it is crazy to look back and see the progress you've made.
You mentioned you had a growth spurt during high school. Today, you're obviously right around 6'4", 6'5", I believe.
Yep.
Where were you heading into high school?
Yeah, my ninth grade year. Yeah, I was probably, so before my ninth grade year, I was like 5'6", 5'7". Ninth grade, I probably get up to like 5'9", 5'10", and then I got to my sophomore year, I was probably 6'2", and then between sophomore junior year, got to about 6'4", and then now I'm about 6'5". So it went through the younger parts of high school. I shot up there, but it's been a little steady growth since then.
That is also interesting because you've going to be a part of, hopefully you're going to be a part of only about 4-year classes that are going to have to deal with the whole COVID season where everything was shut down. You obviously got canceled. High school wasn't necessarily the same, but you kind of blew up right after the COVID pandemic. When that whole gap happened, you came out of there, and that's the first time at least I saw you. You were at the top 100 Ryan Silver camp. But when you're looking at that sophomore, junior year jump for yourself, how much did you improve during the pandemic when everything was locked down and the growth spurt happened to you? Like, just take us through that whole 6, 7, 8 months, even a year necessarily. What all happened for you during that time span?
No, yeah, it was super frustrating with through the whole dead period stuff, not being able to play in front of these coaches, because I see other people are like, oh, getting offers here. I haven't got an offer yet, so I felt like I was good, but so I just kept telling myself I need to keep grinding and be the best that I can for when it does open up, which seemed like it was never going to happen. But when it opened up, I just kept telling myself need to make the most of these opportunities that you're going to get, and just need to be the best prepared. So I felt like during the pandemic, I kept a good outlook in working hard every day to outwork the people who maybe weren't working as hard during the pandemic, and show that I was better than them.
A lot of guys during that time span, especially guys that didn't have offers and were still unknown, considered, and a lot of guys even did it. They reclassed during that time span and said, obviously I pretty much just lost a year. I'll go back one more grade and develop or whatnot. Did you ever consider that? Was that ever on the table for you? Did you guys ever think about that? Or was that something you guys never took on?
No, no, I never really thought about that. Like when I was like in grade school, people would do that, but I just thought everything's going to even out. I guess with the whole pandemic is different. But I felt like I was going to get the opportunities. My coaches kept telling me, you're going to get the opportunities to show what you can do. And I've had plenty of time. So that was never really a real consideration, but I can see why people would do that for sure.
Well, let's go into this past AU season, because that legitimately was your statement time. You went from the back of the top 100, unknown for a lot of people, to now becoming the borderline 5-star player that you are today. When you were getting ready for that, you run with Utah prospects. What did you want to prove to everybody? Like, what was the statement that Collin Chandler wanted to make heading into the AAU season?
I mean, there's just like a lot of doubts with players like me. I mean, I'm obviously not as built as some of the other guys, but I think it's really just it's a more mental game in thinking. So I think just proving that I can compete and win game, mostly winning. I mean, that was a big statement was us winning this summer. Because I think that's what coaches look at and people at the next levels look at is if you can win. So that's a big thing that we wanted to prove was we could play as a team and win. And obviously individual stuff, like coaches wanting you to come play for their team is, I mean, it all just kind of comes together when the end goal is winning. They can all see it. So that was the big statement was that we could put a team together who probably doesn't have the biggest names out there, that we could put a team together and beat these other guys.
When you were going through this process, you mentioned that obviously the offers didn't start coming in until after the whole pandemic stuff really happened for you. When was the very first offer, and when did you start feeling like, okay, I can kind of feel a little bit more comfortable? Like I know I can at least play Division I now for sure. When did that start happening for you?
My first offer was Dixie State. It was I want to say right. It was the summer after my sophomore year, so it was before I was a junior.
Mm.
So they offered me, and then it was a couple weeks after that. Coach Chris Livingston at the University of Utah offered me, and then Stanford came in after a Pangos camp in St. George, and it cooled down there for a while because those were the teams that I think my coaches had a good relationship with, and were like, this kid's going to be good. You're going to want him, so hop on it early. So Kraskowiak didn't work out because the coaching changed at Utah, but those were the early schools, and then it really took up until after my junior year, going and playing in the summer was when I really got those offers from the schools that we're watching.
I've seen you, like I said, quite a few different times, but the first tournament, like in whole that I got to see you was the final thing in Iowa. That was a place where you really made a statement because, like you said earlier in the beginning, you got to go up against a lot of these guys that were all Americans, a lot of the guys that are top ranked players at the time were ranked much higher than you too. In the very first one, you go up against a guy in Chris Livingston, who is debatably, in my opinion, at least the number one player. And like you said, you were the best player on the court at that time. You did your thing. You guys got the win there. And it goes on throughout the entire weekend. When you get in that environment, you go up against other top ranked guys. What's your mentality heading into that game, though?
I mean, I feel like I those games are when I come out as my best. Just playing with a chip on your shoulder, like everyone else thinks that these dudes are better than me, so I got to go out and prove that I'm just as good as them. Whereas Chris, he's one of the best players I played against. I mean, he is one of the dudes that you're like, okay, this dude deserves what he's got, and he's so solid. We played them 2 weeks in a row, super solid. So props to him. But that's just my mentality every game. We had their coach telling Chris, show this dude what a 5-star looks like. So it definitely puts a chip on your shoulder to show him that I can hang with those guys. So
how much more confidence does that give you? Like heading into the game, did you have as much confidence saying like, I am able to go hang with these guys. I know I can play with them. Or was it after that when you start going up against a guy and Chris, that's going to be a one and done lottery pick, when you go up against these guys and you stay just at the same level as them, did that provide more confidence for you, or how much did your confidence change between those different times?
I think my confidence usually stays the same. I mean, I don't know. I feel like playing against those guys, you really don't have anything to lose in my position, which is how I play every time I step on. But yeah, you really got nothing to lose. So you just want to prove out there or get out there and trust the work that you've put in. I feel like I work just as hard as any of those other guys. So I just go out and prove that.
Well, I also want to talk about your team because, as you also said, a lot of people might look at you guys and say, okay, they're going to be easy to beat. We're not probably just going to run right through them next game or whatever it might be. That wasn't the case. You guys went deep into that tournament. I believe it was Final Four, maybe even championship. Yeah. So you guys had talent. Zach Keller is a top 100 player. He's going to be a special add out there to Wake Forest. Just have Langston, who I think is one of the more underrated players in 2022, and the list goes on. What was it like just playing with those guys, though?
I just think that's probably the funnest team I've ever played on, just because everyone was out there, and we all, it took us a little bit. We all figured out our roles, and we were all just happy for each other. Like Zach would have an amazing game. We went to Atlanta, and he had an amazing tournament. Like he played so well. Everyone was just so happy for him. He did so well. No one really got jealous of each other or wanted to get theirs. Rex Sunderland played a huge role, and he was always guarding their best guy. He was amazing. Langston. I mean, everyone played their roles, and everyone knew what they had to do, and it just makes everyone look so good. Everyone could see it. So I think our chemistry and just unselfishness is what let us beat those teams that we might not should have.
As for Zach, as I mentioned, he's going out to Wake Forest. What are they going to be getting in him?
Oh, he is so fun to play with, just because he doesn't care about stats or anything. He rebounds like crazy, and I think just when you know that if you're giving it to him in the post, he's going to get a bucket. Like he's just so physically dominant and has such a high motor. He's always running the floor with you, sprinting to set picks for you. He doesn't care if he gets the ball. He just wants to get his teammate open. So it's just an unselfish player that everyone loves to play with. Great teammate. He's amazing. So Wake Forest got lucky with him for sure.
When you look back at your final AAU season, would you say you were successful? Did you accomplish everything you wanted to? Was that a successful AAU season for Collin Chandler?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a team we exceeded every expectation, and I don't feel like I could have done anything better I felt like I left it all out on the floor every time I played. And like I said, just knowing that every time you play is an opportunity. So I think that I took advantage of all of it. I don't think I'd really go back and regret anything for sure.
You are now in the midst of your final high school season. When you just look at that you're only about a couple months away from being completely done with high school basketball, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy. It's like a bunch of mixed feelings. It's sad because playing with all your buddies it's super fun. The culture of having all your students, all your friends come to the games and cheer you on. It's a super fun environment. But also it's exciting knowing that you're going to play college, play a lot of high level players. I mean, it's a bunch of mixed feelings. So I'm super excited for sure to go to BYU and play for Coach Mark Pope, and play in front of the BYU atmosphere is super exciting too. So there's a bunch of mixed feelings. I haven't really processed it yet, but
yeah. What do you want to accomplish, and what would be the dream ending for your high school career? What's everything that Collin Chandler wants to get done in the next 2 months to be able to walk away saying that was a successful high school career and I achieved everything I wanted to?
I mean, there's a lot of goals. I mean, with my sophomore year, we took third in state. Last year, losing in the state championship. So obviously there's one last step to be taken. And we have our eyes set on state this year. So that's a big goal. I mean, there's several Mr. Basketball, Gatorade Player of the Year. There's all things like that. And that also comes with winning. So I think we're just focused on just winning out. And yeah, those are the goals right now.
Well, the last thing before we get into BYU stuff is you also were part of Penguins All-American Camp, and that was a special event that is a high honor for anyone to get to too. But there is one guy too that I know you get pretty close with. I've had him on here about a couple of months ago, and that's Jaxon Kohler, who also is originally from Utah.
Yep.
What was just your guys' bond like? Just growing up out there in Utah, I know he's transferred to different schools and all that, but what was like just being able to go out there and now end you guys' career playing at that type of level?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy. We look back at pictures of when we used to play in elementary together. We started probably in fourth, fifth grade. We started playing together on AAU teams, but I mean we've come close to each other through traveling together, and then we played with prospects for a little bit. But I mean we've gotten close together, and it's just cool to see both of our successes coming from Utah and things that you dream of when you're a kid together. So I mean it's pretty cool looking back at those things, and I'm excited for him to go play at Michigan State, and he's obviously an amazing player. Everyone knows that. So it's cool to see that a couple of kids out of Utah are going to play at a high level.
When did you guys first get to know each other? What age was that? And just when did this relationship first start?
Yeah, so I played with a team called Utah Elite growing up, and then he played with another team, and we decided to bring them together. I think it was fifth grade that we first started playing together, and obviously in Utah we killed everybody. We traveled, and we struggled too. We just because we weren't that big. Jax was the only man child on that team, so. But it was just fun to play with kids like that at a high level when we were young and growing up, and I think that helped me for sure in my development.
I've got to ask you though, both you guys obviously had multiple Division I offers, both could have went all different places in the country. And we saw a little glimpse. Obviously, I don't think Jaxon would average 50 a game if you guys play together, but we saw a little glimpse of how special you two could be together. Did you guys ever talk about that? Was that ever something that you guys discussed saying, we have these offers that align, we have this offer that align. Would you want to team up as that option? Did you guys ever get into that conversation?
Yeah, I think we had a couple that were the same offers. I think it was like when we were really like not decided, Utah, BYU. I knew he didn't want to stay in the state though. I had this feeling that he didn't want to stay in the state, and that's what I did. I did want to stay in the state, so we had that little conflict. So we knew that probably wasn't gonna work out, but I'm super excited for him at Michigan State, and they got lucky with him for sure.
If you guys do ever end up matching up against each other, whatever that looks like, whether it be the tournament, a non-conference schedule, what would that be like going up against Jax in a game in college?
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I mean, we're both competitors. We both love to win. I know Jax loves to win, so it'd be a fun matchup, but it'd be all love. I mean, it's all love with us too. So that'd be fun, and I look forward to that.
Well, let's head into your recruiting process because it was a wild one. It all kind of came in later on, like you said, in this past summer and spring. You end up coming down to their top six. Oregon's in that group. Gonzaga's in that group. Arizona, Stanford, Utah, BYU, obviously, as well. How are those the six programs that elevated themselves over everyone else in the country?
I mean, I didn't really, as a LDS kid, all the East Coast schools tend to stay away. So I didn't get much attention from the East Coast schools, but I mean, I knew I wanted to play probably in the Pac-12 or with the exception of Gonzaga and BYU. Oregon, I loved Oregon. Went on a visit not too long ago there, and I mean, Altman is obviously amazing. Coach McKenna, they were awesome. Utah, I mean, it came down to probably Utah and BYU, and Utah is amazing with Craig Smith is their new coach, and that was the school I grew up cheering for and loving, but just ended up having a feeling that BYU is the spot for me. But yeah, with the other schools, Arizona, Tommy Lloyd's, he's obviously doing amazing things. They're killing it right now. And I loved all those schools. It just came down to BYU, felt the best for me. And I loved the coaching staff and felt like I had the most to learn from those guys. They have so much experience, and they just have proven that they can have success and can elevate my game. So that was where I felt like it was going to be the best for me.
You mentioned how a lot of schools in the East Coast don't necessarily show interest because you're being an LDS. And obviously there's different people that might not understand your faith as much. So I did want to get into that a little bit so people can kind of understand, because we know you're also going to take your mission first before you get and step foot out there at BYU.
Yep.
Walk us through that though. Like, what led you to obviously, first of all, become part of that Mormon faith, and also at the same time, what's allowed you to pursue it at the level you are? Because obviously we've seen different guys that are Mormon that have decided to go right to college and play right away.
Yeah.
What led you to decide to say, you know what, I'm going to put my faith first. Basketball's still a priority. I still love basketball, but I'm going to put my faith first and go on the mission first.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a part of the Mormon faith because my mom and dad both are LDS, and I grew up in the church. And as I've grown up, my faith has really expanded, and I love the church. And with the whole college thing, I've always told myself I want to go on a mission. That's what I need to do. That's what I want to do. Obviously with colleges coming up and the higher level that I start to play at, it was harder make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was debating it, I just didn't feel good. And just it's just putting a lot of faith in God, and he's like putting a faith in his plan for me, and he gave me the opportunity to still play college ball and go on a mission with all these schools that were still recruiting me, with the exception of the mission. So it really just came down to all these blessings that he's given me, is commanded that we go on a mission. So it's pretty not an easy decision, but that's what I need to do. I'm super blessed. So just to give back and serve is what I felt like I needed to do.
When you mentioned that a lot of the other schools didn't want you because of that, was it more so just because of they didn't want to have to wait 2 years for the mission aspect, or was it just because of your faith?
No, all the schools that actually offered me, they knew my situation. So all the Pac-12 schools, they were all amazing about it. They're like, yeah, we want you no matter what, 2-year break or whatever. It was just the East Coast schools that didn't really. I don't think they're as like, I don't know, as informed or have as much experience with missionaries.
Yeah.
So that was actually a big role in BYU too, is their experience with missionaries, and that was my plan. So yeah, the other schools were amazing though about it. They're like, yeah, we want you no matter what. So it was really cool.
When you first started a conversation with the coach, I have to imagine that probably came up pretty quickly in that conversation. How would that go? Like, just was it something that like one of those coaches, rather it be Coach Altman, Tommy Lloyd, whichever coach it would be, would they just come in and say, okay, is this your plan? Would you say, hey, coach, I want you to know I'm going to be on a mission for 2 years, or how would that typically go? And how do they receive that typically?
These college coaches had constant communication with my AAU coaches, and Tim Davis and Lynn Lloyd. Mm-hmm. So they knew my situation, I think, before actually talking to me, with maybe the exception of actually maybe Creighton is the only exception. But yeah, no, they all knew. So just talking about it, just making sure that's my plan, and make sure we know. And Coach Altman actually has a missionary from Utah in Isaac Johnson. So
yep.
So they were more familiar with it for sure. Just was pretty fresh with the missionary. But yeah, no, they all knew, I think, before they started recruiting me, they knew what they were getting in me.
Well, this is obviously something that some people might obviously be high questions about that. Like, okay, we know how special you are, 2 years off from basketball, all this different questions for it. So how would you answer that? Like, when you know that you're essentially kind of a part of the 2024 class when you get out there. So how do you plan to get ready for that? And what's kind of your plan? Obviously, you're putting your faith first. You're going to go on your mission. In terms of basketball after that, how do you plan to balance it? How do you plan to get back? And just kind of take us through your approach and how you plan for that.
Yeah, well, I think it's a lot with having success with a mission. It's obviously going to be hard, but I think having a personality of someone who's gonna work hard for it. You need to come back and really know what you want, and that you need to be dedicated to getting back in shape, because it's not all going to be there, and you have to be patient with it. Mm-hmm. So, that's really the plan. Obviously, wherever I get called, it's going to kind of depend, but BYU has like workout plans for when you can work out. You're obviously going to not be in the best of shape, but getting back, they know exactly what to do. They've been through every sort of, experience with missionaries coming back. So they know how to deal with it. So I feel comfortable with coming back and getting back into shape, and they know how to get you back without injury. So, I feel pretty comfortable about that.
You mentioned Isaac. He was on here before a couple of months ago, or I guess almost 6 months ago now. But when you talk about someone like Isaac or other guys at BYU, or just any other player that has gone through the mission process, have you been able to talk to any of them? If so, who are they? And just what's some of the advice they've given you so far?
Yeah, obviously Isaac. Basically, my biggest question is to those guys is, do you regret going on a mission? And I don't think any missionaries ever said they regret going on a mission, just because it gives you so many experiences to mature. And one person that really helped me decide was Sam Merrill. And he texted me, And he was obviously wanting me to go to Utah just because his coach, Craig Smith at Utah State, was at Utah. But he's like, just no matter where you go, the biggest thing that I want to tell you is I hope that you get the opportunity to serve a mission, because I wouldn't be in the NBA without my mission and that experience. So that was a big thing for me, was to hear that those guys that gave up those 2 years, that they don't regret it all. I still think it was for the best, even after going through it. So that was probably my biggest question.
I know you don't get to pick necessarily where you're going to be going for your mission. If you could, though, do you want to stay in the country? Do you want to go to another country? Like, where would be somewhere that you would prefer if you could obviously choose? Where would you probably want to go out and serve your mission at?
Yeah, you can give like what you like prefer, like staying stateside or whatever. But kind of going back to God's plan for me is I just want to go wherever I'm needed the most, or wherever I can touch the most people. So I'm really stateside would be cool, just because there's access to a lot of things. But outside of the country would also be a cool experience. I think anywhere would be a worthwhile experience. So
absolutely. Well, let's get into this BYU and what you're eventually going to bring to this program. So as you explained, BYU, obviously we know that's where you're going to be committed to. So we're heading there in 2024. Mark Pope had to have a huge impact, obviously, in this decision. So take us through your guys' relationship. Like, what's it been like just growing your relationship with Coach Pope, and how far has that grown from the day he started recruiting you to today?
Yeah, he's obviously amazing. He's a fan favorite. Everyone loves him. And he just, like, the best thing about him is that person that you see on the screen, and that energy that you see is just like always there. It's not fake. It's real, and it gets me so excited to go play, just because watching those guys, it looks so fun to play, and these guys are just like loving it. So that gets me super excited to go play. And that was a big thing, was just having that love for the sport. And I just think that with the coaching staff, with Mark Pope, Burgess, Feger, and Robinson, I just think it's really going to grow my love for the game for sure. And with all their experience, with Coach Pope and his long NBA experience, I just think I have so much to learn from them, and they have so much knowledge to give me, that it was just so hard to turn down.
When you decide that BYU is the school you're going to choose, that's where you want to go, what was it like telling them, and how did you tell them that you're going to be becoming a Cougar?
I probably, when I told them, it probably wasn't the most energetic response, just because I had just gotten done telling the other schools, and it was like super hard for me. It was super sad. Just like telling these it's like breaking up with a bunch of girlfriends. It sucked. So I was like, "Hey, coach," I just like called him, was like, "I'm coming, coach." And he was obviously super excited. It was really cool just to get that weight off my chest and just feel so good about a decision, because that's what I was the most scared of, was making a decision, having second thoughts. But I'm super confident in my decision, and super glad that I chose there. So they were obviously so happy. And BYU, the Cougar Nation, they're insane, man. They blow up my phone whenever I tweet something about BYU or anything, and they're all on top of it and super supportive, and their fans are amazing. So it was a super warm welcome to the culture for sure.
You mentioned earlier that rankings might not matter too much to you, and obviously at the end of the day they don't matter. But when you look at it from a media perspective and how important your commitment there is, because there haven't been 5-star recruits go to BYU before. You're going to be the first one. Obviously, I said it's borderline, but I think by the end of the next ranking update, you'll be a 5-star locked in. So to know that you're creating a new trend, obviously it's a Big 12. It's a huge next couple of years for BYU. Mm-hmm. How significant is that for you? And have you even thought about the end that way? Have you realized that, okay, my commitment is almost starting a new trend? Like, this could be a new thing that other top recruits down the road could also choose to go to Coach Pope and go to BYU now.
For sure. I think I could definitely affect recruiting with, it's hard with the whole mission thing to really recruit kids my age. But when I come back, I think being like playing at that high level and now entering the Big 12, and with guys that are already on their mission who are high level players, with Dallin Hall and Jake Wallin, Richie Saunders, and then Foose, who's playing right now, will still be there when I get back. But I think we'll be able to make a splash, and people will definitely look at BYU differently. I think there's a lot of things that people look into BYU, and it's not what they think. Like the whole culture and everything. I think it is a basketball school. And you can see people who maybe weren't part of the culture, like Seneca Knight or Tijon Lucas, who are coming in and they're just thriving under Coach Pope. I think it will be a big landing spot for people, and I'm excited to see who Coach Pope can bring in and what we can do in the Big 12.
When you narrowed down your options a little bit even more, I have to imagine, obviously, I know you didn't go on visits to Gonzaga or Arizona, so I have to imagine at least came down to those Final Four then, but did it come down even more so? I know in terms of crystal balls and all that, a lot of people were thinking you're going to go to Utah for a little bit there, and then some people also said Stanford. Not too many people thought you'd go BYU. Was that the same story for you inside your family? Inside of it's kind of a smaller circle, like did you narrow it down to maybe 2 schools, maybe even 3 or something like that?
So with that top 6, I ended up not, I told Gonzaga no first, just cause, with my, like, if I wasn't going on a mission, Gonzaga would definitely be a higher spot, just cause, with their recruiting and what they do recruiting, Mark Few isn't as involved as maybe other schools. And now that was a big thing for me with going on a mission is I need to have a good relationship with the coach, knowing that I can go and come back and have a role, and have them have enough faith in me that I can still produce after those 2 years. So I said no to them first, but and then it was probably Arizona because they no, maybe it wasn't, because I said no to 4 schools pretty much around the same time through Arizona. Arizona was awesome. I don't know why I was just hesitant about. I loved the coaching staff and everything. I just didn't know. I wasn't as comfortable with Arizona. Stanford was one of the first to offer me. So I love their coaching staff, and I grew so close to them. And obviously the opportunities at that school are amazing, and it was hard to turn that down. But it really took until I took my BYU visit that I just got that feeling like it just felt like home. It felt like that was the spot for me. But I loved Oregon, Utah, obviously. Like it was a super hard decision, but I just knew I felt like that was what I needed to do. And it probably wasn't the most popular opinion among my circle, just because they grew up, went to the U and everything. But it was just what I felt like was right for me.
And you are going to be, like I said, we're going to become a new era of basketball out there. And one of the big reasons for that is the Big 12 move. How big was that for your recruiting process? Obviously, the West Coast Conference is still solid. You could have went up against Gonzaga, and all this other schools are getting better and better each year. But end of the day, obviously, the Big 12 is a much higher stage. It's a much different level. So how important was that for your recruiting process, or did it even matter at all for you?
Yeah, well, yeah, to be honest with you, I mean, I thought the landing spot was Pac-12 just because they're so solid. They've got so many solid teams. I as a basketball player and a competitor, I want to play against the best players possible. I want to be able to go out and prove that I'm the best player no matter who we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with that move to the Big 12, I mean, it was huge. It's just best basketball conference in America. Hometown school. I mean, it was definitely hard to turn down. Big 12 was definitely a big factor because I'm getting all of that in one school, and just playing against those. I can't wait to play against those teams. I'm so excited.
Do you think you would still be at BYU if they were in the West Coast Conference?
It definitely would have been a closer call because I mean the West Coast Conference is great with I mean they're pretty, with the exception of a few teams, but they're pretty hard games every night that you're playing. So I honestly I couldn't tell you, but when they got to the Big 12 was when BYU really put the pressure on me, because I think they felt like that's where they had their recruiting pitch on me, is they're playing against the best players, and they know the type of person I am. They know the type of player I am. So I maybe wasn't looking at BYU as much just because they weren't. I don't feel like they were still recruiting me. Obviously, they're amazing, but I don't think they were recruiting me as hard as when they knew they were in the Big 12. So I just think they saw that that's where I could prove myself, and that they know that's when I'm at my best, is when I'm playing against those best teams. So
I read about a conversation you had with Alex Barcelo, who obviously isn't going to be there when you get out there, but he's the go-to guy. He's a guy that could very well find himself on an All-American team at the end of the season. I read there was a conversation between you two. I'm sure you guys have had talks here and there, but was there an in-depth conversation with him about just Coach Pope, about the program? Like, did that occur for you guys? And if so, how big was that for you in your recruiting process?
yeah, I mean, he's obviously he's going through it. He's the man there right now, and he basically just told me what it's like. I asked him about what BYU was like what's it about, and he had a really good response with he's there for basketball. That's what it's centered around. There are a lot of other things going on, but basketball is what he came to do. So he said Coach Pope just gives him he's the leader of that team, and that's the role he's fulfilling. And they basically all just express how awesome it is playing for Coach Pope and how much they love it, and just the type of relationship they have with each other is just the ideal relationship with a coach and player. So I think that definitely impacts him on how good of a player he is and what he's been able to do.
BYU may not be the biggest name in college basketball, but those that obviously know basketball and know them. But even those that aren't too familiar with the game as a whole, all the teams in the country, BYU has had those certain superstars come out of there. Obviously, the most notable one, Jimmer Fredette. Then you have Alex Barcelo this year. I have to imagine that's what you want to go into, being one of those two guys that not just becomes a great all-time BYU player, but a guy that elevates himself into All-American, top player in the country type status. How do you plan to become, almost in a way, filling those shoes, or just becoming the next superstar player at BYU and also that next superstar in the country?
Yeah, I think the whole culture of BYU scares a lot of high level athletes from going, but the people who have gone and been able to thrive, I think, feed on the culture that's there. Like Alex Barcelo and Jimmer and Danny Ainge. I mean, they all have they basically just set the level that it's possible to go in there and be a pro and improve yourself. So having those guys, especially Alex in recent years, that are proof of it can work under Coach Pope, and you can go out and prove yourself. It's definitely a big thing and a big motivation that it can be done. So that's a big thing.
I've always said that you remind me of a guy that's going to be a college superstar. Obviously, it's like I said, we're not going to see it until 2024, but however many years you're out there, if it is 1, 2, 3, 4 years, eventually when you do get there, you just have that nature where you're a star type player. You have the confidence, the swagger. You also play at a high level too. But obviously, I said, I think you're going to be one of the top players in the country. You have the potential of reaching that. What can fans expect from you, though? When you talk about everything you can bring to a team when you get out there, what can they expect to see in Collin Chandler?
Yeah, well, what I've been able to do in my career so far is I think just get a team together and get them working together. A team needs to be a family before it can be successful. So I think BYU already does an amazing job with that. So I think I'm going to fit in perfectly with that family style. I'm not a big show guy with like I don't know, talking trash to the other team or whatever celebrations, but I mean I get it done. So I mean they can expect a show when they come. So we're excited.
And you mentioned a couple of different guys that will still be there, or at least potentially. Obviously, Foose is going to be someone that has a chance to go in the NBA. I think the way he's playing right now, could he obviously have to keep going at the next level? He could be there before you get out there. But you have him. You have Caleb that could very well be out there. A couple of other different guys that are on the mission too, like you said. Yep. Who are you most excited to go play with, though? Like when you do look at guys that you have a chance of playing with, how excited are you to be able to go out there and play with them eventually?
I mean, obviously Foose, a freshman at 6'6" with the huge wingspan that he has, just to be a freshman and go out and be able to just kill it. Like he's done amazing. And just to know that he has another 2 years after this year to to develop and they can work with him more and his confidence. That's so exciting to play with the people who are on their missions with Dallin Hall. He's amazing. He's a tremendous creator with the ball. Jake Wallin, he's 6'9" guard. He's obviously so fun to play with because he's so versatile. Richie Saunders, I haven't been able to play with him, but he can just flat out shoot the ball. Yeah, I'm excited to play with all those guys. It'll be fun.
Absolutely, man. Well, a few more things before I let you go. One other aspect is another huge change in college basketball as a whole has been NIL has now come into effect. Did that impact you at all in recruiting? Was that a conversation you had with each coaching staff? And if so, more specifically for BYU, if that was the case, what was their pitch to you and what are they planning for you NIL wise?
I mean, it wasn't a big thing that we talked about, but there are definitely opportunities that they talked about like what they're doing with their current players right now with NIL opportunities, with not just doing these deals with people, but learning what to do with the money that you're getting and how to invest it and how to be smart with it. So all those classes sounded appealing that they were doing, and it sounded like BYU is trying to find out, like figure it out first. They wanted to be the team to figure out NIL and how to make the most of it. Mm-hmm. So that was mostly what we talked about.
One of the things that I think is one of the best things from NIL, besides just you guys getting money now, is people also get to buy jerseys now of each player with the name on the back. But eventually, when the time does come, you're going to have your name on that jersey. Is there a number that you want, though? Is there a number that Cougar fans can get excited for potentially seeing you rock out there with?
Yeah, I think most Cougar fans that are in the media know it's going to be number 5. So that's the number I've grown up with, playing with. It was my dad's number, so that's like my family number that we have. So it'll definitely be 5.
Absolutely, man. Well, something I was like wrapping up discussing is talking about building a legacy for yourself, because I know all guys want to be remembered for something. So when that point does come, you end up leaving BYU and your career's done there. What do you want to walk away being remembered for what you achieved both on and off the court?
I think what I want to leave behind me is that it's possible. Like the grass isn't always greener. It's possible to do good things where you're at, and loyalty is a big thing. That's what I try to pride myself by is being loyal to where I was and not being flaky or seeing the grass is greener. I mean, like, I don't know, you can do big things with where you're at and the circumstances you've been given. So that's probably the biggest thing.
And how big will that be for you to know that besides your 2-year mission, wherever you end up going there, you're going to be home for your entire career, born and raised in Utah, through high school, and then a college start at Utah?
Yeah.
How big is that for you?
I mean, it'll be pretty awesome. I mean, it's awesome to just put that name on your jersey and represent your state and where you're from or your culture that you've been grown up in. So I'm super excited just to wear that name on my jersey every night. So it means a ton.
My final thing for you, give BYU fans your 3 biggest goals that you have set for your BYU career.
Win the Big 12 is a big one. Obviously make a run in March Madness is another big goal. I don't know what my third one would be. Yeah, I mean those are the 2 that I have right now. But
absolutely, man. Well, Collin, best of luck the remainder of the season. Enjoy the rest of it. Good luck and enjoy the mission as well, man. And can't wait to see you when you get back out there at BYU, and appreciate you coming on today, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. Well, welcome on, man. God bless.
All right. You too.